Hello, everybody. This is Janice Masters, the Shaman Mama from janicemasters.com. And I'm here today to talk about highly sensitive people and empaths and the boundaries that are essential for us to live in a healthy, comfortable, and integrated manner. Hi, Michelle Early. Thank you for being here. Hi, Merlin. Glad you're here. There are several reasons that I decided to do this, and I was triggered into thinking about it on Sunday. Hey, Susan, thank you so much for being here, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. Hey, Joan, thank you for being here. But the other reason, I'll get to that one in a minute. But the other reason that I wanted to do this is that, hey, Terry, so glad you're here. Is that these days, with the political national scene in the United States being what it is, a lot of people are feeling that their boundaries are being, hi Lisa, thank you for being here, are being, at the very least, disrespected because emotions are running so high on all sides. And when it comes to being highly sensitive and empathic, which I am, and most of the women I know and work with as clients and students are, boundaries are really essential to our healthy well-being and effectiveness in our lives. So we're going to talk about that. I talk with my clients all the time about depending on who you're with or going to be with and where you're going to be and what the energetics of the situation is. Hey, Bruce, Palma, hi there. I'm so glad you're here. That really determines what kind of boundary we want to put in place. And before I talk about that, I want to bring into play something that one of my coaches, the absolutely wonderful Vicky Delogioio, writes about in her book and teaches about, and that is the difference between boundaries and barriers. We put up barriers when we don't really think that we're capable of taking care of ourselves, and they are immovable and rather rigid and keep us from a lot of experiences that we think we might not be able to keep ourselves safe in. Okay, so we want to move away from the necessity for boundaries and into a place of knowing that my space within myself is my sovereign domain. I am the one in charge of it. And I am the one who can understand, know, and effect boundaries that are helpful and healthy for me. So a lot of times in relationships with strangers, with friends, with family, and even, and I'll go back to this in a minute, with our spiritual guides. Hi, Allison. Thank you for being here. We feel that we don't have the right to set limits, that we feel that, yes. Hey, Carl. Thanks for being here. We feel that to say no or to set a boundary around ourselves is rude or unacceptable, or the other person won't understand, or they'll be offended. The fact of the matter is, I'm the one responsible for taking care of me. You're the one responsible for taking care of you. It is not the duty of others to take care of us in ways that feel good and right. We can teach them, we can help them to understand our high sensitivity and our empathy and our need for certain limits and boundaries, but it's really up to me. Hello, Carl. We'll just stick with the political scene for the moment. If you know that reading political posts on Facebook is truly upsetting for you, and you're losing sleep, and you're feeling anxious, and you're getting migraines, probably a good idea to decide to put a boundary around yourself with respect to Facebook so that you're not taking on that energy. The thing about highly sensitive people and empaths is that we tend to have very porous personal boundaries. And as a friend of mine pointed out just this morning, sometimes that's absolutely wonderful because hi, Mary. So glad you're here. It's absolutely wonderful and precious because that's when there is gives me goosebumps, this delicious exchange of energy between two souls who feel eminently safe with one another. So those porous boundaries can lead us into very deep and very rich experiences. The difficulty comes when we don't know how to set boundaries and we are in relationships with people who it's not so precious and easy to exchange energy with them. In fact, sometimes it's downright prickly, sometimes abusive, and again, I'm responsible for me, you're responsible for you. And so learning not only that this is my sovereign energetic space, I'm the queen of this space. I get to decide what gets in, what gets out, and I get to decide how to do that. So when I'm working with clients, I talk about, okay, there may be people with whom you could have the gossamer boundary of butterfly wings around you because that's how easy it is to be with this person. With another person, we'll go to the other extreme. Hey, Stacy, thank you for being here. I'm so glad to see you. With other people, hey, Connie, thank you for being here. Forrest, hi. With other people or in other situations that are much trickier, you may want some kind of thick lucite around you, okay? It's up to you what you want to take in and what you don't want to take in. Again, your sovereign space, my sovereign space. I am in charge of it. And there will be people who don't respond very well to your boundaries. And you know, this is part of learning to be assertive. This is part of what my friend Joan Silva talks about a great deal. The difference between a healthy no and a knee-jerk yes. Hey, Marianne, thanks for being here. Yeah, a lot of prickles out here, a lot of goosebumps of recognition. That's great. That's great. I'm going to go back to what triggered this for me on Sunday, and I have permission to share who with whom this happened. My friend Terry Wilderman and I, who's just an incredible, radiant being, a powerful woman, and has just published a book called The Enchanted Boardroom about gathering your guides to consult with and to help you in your life and with your business, etc. So we met for the first time at a beautiful place here in Miami called Fairchild Tropical Botanical Gardens, which is just as beautiful as the name suggests. And we sat for a long time, and we talked, and we walked, and we sat some more and talked some more, and she did some healing work on my knee, and then as we were sitting outside on the patio, she said, oh my gosh, I think I need to channel, because she channels. And she said, I really don't want to do this right now. She said, oh God, you know, they're insisting. And so I said, hey, knock yourself out, do whatever you need to do. So she began to channel her guide. And at a certain point, her guide said to me, we would like to enlist your help in working with Terry, and so we want to know if you are open to us coming through you. And I said, no. I have my own guides. I'm not interested in opening myself to your energy at this time. And they said, oh, well, we appreciate your honesty. Asa, thank you for stopping in. I'm so glad to see you here. Terry was rather surprised. And I, quite frankly, was extremely pleased because honestly, I had never been asked that question before. I do have my own guides and I do channel in my own way. And I was not the least bit interested in having an energy with which I was not familiar coming through my sovereign space. You understand that? And so I said no. Hey, Rosalind, so glad you're here. Terry and I talked about that afterwards, and what I said to her, because I saw that she struggled, she really didn't want them to come through at that particular time. Hi, Rita, thank you so much for being here. She really didn't want them to come through at that particular time, and she didn't say no. And so I said a couple of things to her. I talked to her about sovereign space. Sovereign space, this is mine, that's yours. I talked to her about the fact that the guides who are helpful to us Just as they say about the people who surround the President of the United States, the guides serve at our pleasure. It's not the other way around. I am not beholden to my guides, and they are respectful of that with me. I think, hey, Gail, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. There are a lot of dynamics. Hey, is that you, Terry? I don't see you, but I see you. I think there are a lot of early life dynamics and past life dynamics that set us up for responding in certain ways to certain intrusions into our lives. Carl says, I've been having some success lately observing without getting engaged in the drama, reminding myself to allow people to be who and where they are. Pretty challenging to be sure. Absolutely, but such a nice boundary, such a nice distance that you take that allows you to be in that observer role, Carl. I think that's terrific. I have been trying to do yes, I've been trying to do a lot of that too, and I have been getting engaged. Earlier this morning in our shadow coaching group, I talked about getting triggered by some of the political stuff and really looking at, hey, Vicki, I'm so glad you're here. I mentioned you a little bit ago about being one of my wonderful coaches and how you make the distinction between barriers and boundaries, and that when we have healthy boundaries that we are able to assert, we don't need those rigid boundaries that really keep us from other people in life. And I appreciate that. Vicki has a wonderful book called The Way of Joy, and also a coaching program by the same name. So definitely connect with Vicki. Joan says, I never thought of it that way. The guides serve at our pleasure. Zowie. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not at the mercy of any energies out there. If we take this to an extreme, just recently there was someone, where was it? Oh, it was in Brenda McIntyre's telesummit in which I participated as a guest, and a woman was talking in the chat room about her home and her family being invaded by spirits. Not okay. I don't know personally what to do about that, but not okay. Terry, hi. Terry says, my guides were appreciative of your directness. It has all led to this lesson. I did not have a challenge with it. My guide Lexter was pleasantly taken aback. Oh, well, that's kind of cute and good to know. The fact of the matter is I have spent the last probably 30 years. Hey, Mary, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your presence. I have spent the last 30 years or more learning to claim the right to be assertive and then teaching assertiveness for women. And now, basically, when I work with highly sensitive people and empaths, I'm teaching a kind of healthy spiritual assertiveness, because we're not up for grabs just because we're empathic and just because we can feel what other people feel. And we don't want to take on everybody else's feelings. Connie says, I've created a barrier to keep out any and all news unless I am consciously opening myself to it, which is rare. Well, given what you're referring to, I think that's a very good thing that you've instituted, to create a barrier. And I wonder what you would think is the difference between, I was going to ask that. She said, I save boundaries for people. Yes, I agree. There are certain things that I create barriers to because I don't want any part of them. No how, no way, not ever. And so a barrier feels like a good thing to do. So I'm wondering if anybody can speak to the difficulty in establishing and holding boundaries in personal relationships. I'll give you another example. A friend of mine said that she was in a restaurant a few days ago, and a stranger, Bruce Wayne, says, I'm so passionate about things, I sometimes get caught up in issues. Yeah, I think that that's probably true for a lot of HSP empaths, because we do feel things deeply, we have deep beliefs, and we can get caught up. And it really is important to look at, is this a healthy getting caught up, or is this something that is draining? Is it nourishing or is it draining? that would be the barometer for me. So I'm wondering if people could speak to or ask questions about, is it difficult to know what kind of boundaries to put in place in certain situations with certain people? And is it difficult to put them in place and hold them? Terry says, I never had a situation like we had on Sunday happen before. I've only channeled in private spaces, so it was a delicious learning experience. Boundaries. I burned out multiple times due to a lack. See, it says see more. Not going to show me more. Okay, I'm glad that it was delicious learning experience for you, Terry, because believe me, it was new for me too. I have never said no to a guide because my guides wait for me to contact them. That's the agreement that we have. It was a tacit agreement for a long time. Diane, Gian Lorenzo, thank you so much for being here. Bruce says, and we feel the need to help. Yes, sometimes it's a compulsive need to help or rescue. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's healthy, sometimes not so much. Joan Silva says, I don't know until they've been crossed. Okay, well, you know what? I know how intuitive you are, that you can inch your way into knowing when they are going to be crossed, that you can read the energy and set the boundary. Because the thing I wanted to say is clearing, which is when a boundary's been crossed and the other person or the space's energy has invaded your sovereign space and you're stuck with it. Okay, but there are ways to do that. You don't have to be stuck with it forever. But putting boundaries in place allows us to not take on what we know would be toxic, which is one extreme, or just irritating. We have a choice. We have a choice what to take in, just as we have a choice what to put out, what to give out. So I love what you said, Terry, about boundaries. I burned out multiple times due to a lack of. Yeah, I think that probably many of us have had that experience because we are, as Bruce said, we are passionate about things, and many of us have a kind of ADD energy. I know it's true for me. I get interested in so many things, and the other piece of that is, which I've been talking to myself a lot about lately, is to do what I can, to do what I love, and then to turn the heavy lifting of the issue over to the universe. It's not all up to me, because that'll keep me on the gerbil wheels longer than anything else. Stacy says, for me as an empath, I have to think about when to see there is a need for a boundary. Yes, because probably, I know your first impulse is to feel that empathy, to feel that human connection with the other person. Thank you for being here. So glad you are. Yeah, I think it's really important, as I said to Joan, to kind of back into reading the energy and knowing before the line is crossed. Look, here's how change happens. We become aware of something new, talking about boundaries. And so first we will become aware when we've done something the old way, which means the boundary gets crossed. And then we'll become aware of when we're in the midst of doing it the old way, the boundary is being crossed. And then at that magical moment of choice, we will become aware of, oh, I can do it the old way, or I can do it the new way and set the boundary now before it's crossed. That's a really powerful moment. And that's why I called this Facebook Live Empowered Boundaries, because that's where our personal power comes from in one way. It's not the only way, but it's definitely empowering to know. The bottom line in life is that, hello from Iceland, says Lynn Marie. Yes, hello from Iceland. So glad you're here, so far away. You're going to the States soon, aren't you, Lynn Marie? That's very cool. Sabrina, hi Sabrina, says, no boundaries in friendship brings deep disappointment for me over and over again. Well, Sabrina, the good news is that no boundaries in any relationship will bring disappointment because expectations are all over the place if we have no boundaries. But healthy boundaries will allow a really wonderful exchange of energies in ways that feel really wonderful to us and are very nourishing to us. So it's definitely an important piece for us to look at as sensitives and empaths. Connie says, amen. We can't do it all, but we can do the little things. The moments of heart-centered living is what makes us and our lives complete. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can't do it all. It's like Mother Teresa says, we can't necessarily do great things, but we can do little things with great love. And that's what you're talking about. Yolanda, hello. Hi. You're in from Rochester. Thank you so much for being here. So, this issue of boundaries is one that we can keep sort of an open topic and talk about the energetics of it and talk about various kinds of boundaries. Again, it's your choice. You get to use your intuition to decide what kind of boundary. Like I said, feathery butterfly wings or 10 inches of lucite. It depends. You go into a box store, you might not want any of the energy that's ricocheting around in there. You want to get in, get out. Carl says, for me, it's a balance point of setting boundaries and holding on loosely to them so that I don't become too rigid with them. Yes. I'm always on the lookout for paradoxically giving power to what I'm, and it says see more, but I'm sensing that you're saying giving power to what I'm resisting. Absolutely. It is an exquisite balance, Carl, and I'm glad you brought that up because we're not pushing away. We're not resisting anything. We're simply, it's like closing my front door. I don't leave my front door open all the time. Not because there's danger in my neighborhood, but that's a boundary. I closed the door, okay? I'm not resisting the outside. In fact, I look outside right now. I see the trees and the wind and the birds. Beautiful, okay? So it's very practical what we're talking about. It's not airy-fairy and it's not ethereal. It's about sacred self-care. And sacred means that we are holding ourselves with respect, with honor, with high intention for our good, okay? And boundaries are part of that sacred self-care. Bruce says, I'm sometimes too trusting, and that's when I get hurt. So you're so right, boundaries are necessary. Well, yeah, and that's about expectations, which is a whole other piece to look at because when you're too trusting, as you say, Bruce / Palma, you have expectations that the other person probably have an expectation the other person will behave as you would in that situation, and then you get hurt when they don't. Okay, so looking at expectations is another piece of our sacred self-care. Connie says, I'm careful about the box store. You never know if the person in aisle 1 has a message for you or you for her. True enough, as empaths and channels and spiritual beings, those messages are always floating around for us to grab onto or not, for us to pass along or not, and that is discerned on a high level by our high intuitive guidance. Forrest is watching. I'm so glad you are. So I'm going to close in a minute. If there are any more questions, now's the time to ask them. But this is an issue that's been really important in my life and in my work. I work in particular with highly sensitive, empathic women. And so often from childhood, we're not only not taught to have boundaries, but we're kind of taught to be available and not to say no to adults, and you better hug your aunt and you better kiss your, so we're kind of forced to be outside of our comfort zone. Well, we're not that little kid anymore. You're in charge of your sovereign space. I'm in charge of my sovereign space, and that is absolutely wonderful because now we have the opportunity to be authentic in our, as my friend Joan Silva talks about, our yeses and our nos. Okay, the power of a positive no is that it can lead to a very authentic yes. So I think on that note, I'm going to close. Gail Freeman. Hi, Gail. Oh, exactly what I needed to hear. I am so glad. Hey, Carl, it was great to see you too and connect for a bit. This is such a fabulous way to do it, isn't it? I really love to teach, and I'm finding Facebook Live is such a really great tool to do this with the community. Stacy says, thanks, Jan. Well, thank you, Stacy, for being here. I know you're in the middle of a day. So I love all of you. You can find me at janicemasters.com and, of course, here on Facebook and at my Facebook business page, The Shaman Mama. And I will. Hey, Allison, thank you. Says, just terrific. Thanks, Janice. Bruce says, thank you. You are empowering. Oh, that's music to my ears. That's my highest wish, to teach others to be empowered. Forrest, mwah, back at you. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye for now. This is Janice Masters, the Shaman Mama from janicemasters.com. Susan says, thank you, Janice. Carl, encouraging to see. I'm itching to do Facebook Live videos too. Oh man, do it. I'll keep a look and show up for yours. Sabrina says, time flies with you. Thank you. Joan says, thank you. Michelle Grace Lassard is watching. Lynn Marie, thanks. Okay, everybody, I love you all and send you hugs, peace, radiance. And at this particular time, with our election day in the United States tomorrow, be sure you take a look at what boundaries you want around yourself and even barriers you might want around yourself for the next few days, and understand that it's not going to be over when the election's over. We've got some high energy flying around. So Stacy says you hold our lantern. Oh, thanks, Stacy. You've said that to me so often. I love that. Megan, hi. So glad you stopped in. I'm just about to stop, but of course you can watch the replay. Okay, gonna sign off now. Thank you so much. This is Janice Masters. I'm not janicemasters.com, but that's where you can find me. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.